Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, announced the commencement of charges on deposits in addition to already existing charges on withdrawals, which was first introduced in 2012. The charges, which took effect on Wednesday, attract 3% processing fees for withdrawals and 2% processing fees for deposits of amounts above 500,000 naira for individual accounts, while for corporate accounts, a processing fee of 5% would be charged for withdrawals and 3% for deposits on amounts above 3 million. Well, well, well. Since Wednesday, there has been plenty of talk regarding this topic, and we've been told that some people haven't done the math right, that some don't fully understand what the central bank meant. Well, we have in the studio this morning, one in Lagos and one will join us in Abuja.
They're ready.
Officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria who are going to explain this to us so that we stop making the mistake in our calculations. Mr. Chidi Umeano is Head Shared Services of Central Bank. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And from Abuja, we have the Deputy Director, Payment System Management Department, CBN Abuja, Mr. Musa Jimo. Good morning, Mr. Jimo.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Well, since I have Mr. Umeano right next to me, let me begin with him. Now, people have been calculating this any which way. And I read, I think it was in yesterday's paper, that the calculation is actually, the fees are paid on the excess over 500,000 for individuals and over 3 million for businesses. Is that the correct interpretation of what the CBN has said?
Yes, it is. I understand the confusion. The policy is very clear. What we try to do is we have limits. We're saying that for deposits, for example, lodgements, for individual, anything, any amount in excess of 500,000, you'll be required to pay what really can be called cash handling fee, a processing fee of 2% on the excess above 500,000.
If, for instance, I pay 600,
yes,
I'm going to be charged only for 100.
2% on 100,000.
But okay, sorry. Okay, I know viewers, some of you that were wondering what's happening here, you have your comments, but just hang on. That is not clear.
Okay.
You just clarified now.
Okay.
Because some people have started planning how they'll get to the bank paying 499,500, go and then come back and deposit another 500 just so that they can save their...
It's less than 500,000.
Make it less than 500,000.
Yeah.
But you're saying 600, that means the 2% is on the 100.
It's on the 100, yes.
So
if I pay 502,
it will be on the 2.
On the 2.
Yes.
Okay, that's better. But the question now is, in the face of a cashless policy that the CBN has been preaching very loud and clear across the country, why do you charge processing fees?
No, it's
if you're encouraging people to bring their monies to the bank and go cashless.
Okay, I think maybe if you understand the history of the cashless policy and the implementation so far, it actually started in 2012 with Lagos State, and then by 2014, we took it to other six states.
Yes.
And the next plan of action was a nationwide implementation. But we calmed down and stopped just to make sure that everybody, if you listen to the governor yesterday, he was very clear on that. What we tried to do was to get people at that point to bring in all the money that they think they have under their pillows and all that into the banking system. And then this policy is not new. It's actually a continuation of what we have been implementing since 2012. So we understand the issues involved, but sometimes decisions are taken based on, how do we move forward? it doesn't discourage anybody from bringing money in. And, you know, these policies, like we said, are daily thresholds, daily limits, meaning that for your daily transactions in a day, as a corporate body, you can bring in 3 million. The next day can bring 3 million. That's not a problem at all. You know, so it's
It is 3.1 million that you pay on the one.
You do the excess. The percentage will apply on the excess of that 3 million naira for corporate bodies, yes.
Now, Mr. Jimo, you must admit that a lot of cash transactions take place in our economy. And there are many people, many traders, for instance, who are still very wary of the banking system. Now, you want them to bring their money to the bank, but you are reeling out these charges to them. I mean, how is that going to encourage them to bring their money to the bank? I'm thinking about those selling cows, for instance, so selling cattle. I mean, I'm glad to announce that now you can go to the market and actually do transfers. But a lot of people still insist on cash, no matter how much the amount is.
Sorry, I'm not hearing again.
Oh, dear.
Okay. Okay. I didn't hear the last comment, but I think I had the first one, which has to do with if we really want to promote cashless, then why are we preventing people from bringing their money to the bank or charging, lodgement?
Not
as
to
a matter of
mention
fact,
the bank charges.
I think we need to. Okay, bank charges. So I think we need to understand the objective of cashless, and that's why it is called cashless and not, a total cash elimination. We basically just want to deter heavy cash users. We are mindful of the fact that there are petty traders who could be doing, small transactions, and so they will still be receiving cash payment. And that's why the limits that were set were such that they would never, and very likely that they will meet those thresholds. Initially, when we started cashless, the limit was actually 150,000 naira for individuals and 1 million for corporate. We opted it to 500,000 and 3 million respectively, because we conducted a study and found that majority of the small and medium enterprises and small companies will never meet those thresholds. The objective is basically to deter and encourage the adoption of electronic payment. And
okay,
so,
Mr. Jimo,
3 million.
Can you just hold your thoughts for a moment? If I may interrupt you, Mr. Jimo, we need to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue from where you left up. Please don't lose your train of thoughts, and our viewers, stay with us. We're back, Sunrise, and we're talking about the CBN's latest, the revised cashless policy. As Mr. Mana explained to us, it's not exactly revised. It's just that they just went back to implementing what had started in 2012. Yes, Mr. Jimo, you were talking about encouraging the traders to come in to bring in their fund into the bank, and that there was a limit based on analysis and a survey in the marketplace. That's why the limits increased to what it is now. But go ahead and finish your train of thought.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we conducted an analysis of cash usage and found that majority of the small businesses will never do up to the limit that we have said, which is 500,000 naira. I actually did a calculation about a week ago and found that more than 95% of traders, merchants, will never even receive, a settlement of up to 3 million naira. So basically, the policy is targeting heavy cash users who are creating heavy overhead on the banking sector. And the irony of it is that when this cost comes to the banks, they spread it evenly to the small, account holders and the big account holders. And the objective of CBN is to ensure that we even out this thing and ensure that only those that are contributing so much overhead through cash usage will actually pay for this, which was why the deterrent for cash lodgement is actually higher on corporate than individuals. So for the individuals and people in rural communities, what we have done to encourage the usage of electronic acceptance is basically to deploy a lot of channels. Today, Central Bank has actually granted licenses to a lot of entities to deploy financial access points. We have agent outlets where they can actually conduct, cash in, cash out, where they can actually digitize their money and at the end of the day, be able to come into the financial sector. So the overarching objective of the cashless is actually not to deter people from bringing their money to the bank. No, it is actually to encourage them bringing their money into the bank, digitize it, and become included in the financial sector. So the limit that we have set truly and truly will not affect, a lot of the people that we're actually targeting at the rung of the ladder.
Mr. Jimo, sorry, staying with you, Adetola Orekoya is concerned that the announcement was made before the people were educated about this revision or the meaning of exactly of what this is all about. He talks about why the CBN would even go ahead in this area. Meanwhile, there are also the other part of illegal charges on individual accounts and corporate accounts from the banks that CBN should be handling. But this one here, the people are not informed and the process is announced. Why?
Well, just like my colleague Chidi, explained to you, this is actually not a new policy. The policy is actually 8 years old now. By next year, it will be 8 years old. We started in 2012, and the actual activation of cashless, which commenced in Lagos in 2012, came into being in 2013 when we extended the cashless to 6 states and FCT. The suspension on lodgement actually came in because we got feedback from the public that if we actually wanted people to digitize their cash, then we mustn't encumber the channel through which they can bring the cash in, which is lodgement. So we allow lodgement to be free. You can bring your money in and digitize it. So we actually left the limit, the service charge on withdrawal. So the policy has been there over time, and we gave the latitude to Nigerians to get used to electronic means of accepting payment, doing funds transfer, and
the
doing
lodgement.
commerce. So 5 years from now, I don't think we are stampeding the public if we activate the policy for people
Mr. Jimo,
to, continue
right
to,
now, you said
electronic means of payment.
Okay, Mr. Jimo, you said you are not charging lodgement, but you're now charging lodgement by this new announcement. Or, okay, you went back to the old policy. Lodgement is being charged. Is that not what the situation is?
No, the fee that is being charged now has been the policy. Sorry, if I get you right. There is no introduction. It was actually, we used to have it 3% and 5% for individual and corporate respectively, and 3% for withdrawal, and then for lodgement 3 and 2. So the fee had actually been there, and you can check the policy that was issued in 2012,
no, the question
and the one
is,
that was also released in 2014. The rates have actually been there. It was only suspended, so there is no new rate that has actually come in.
The question is, you said that the bank, the Apex Bank, wants to encourage people to digitize their funds. If you want to encourage people to digitize their funds, why would you be charging them to bring in the funds you want to digitize?
Thank you very much. That's what I just said now, that the policy is 7 years old now. When we brought it in 2012, we actually put charge on withdrawal and lodgement. In 2014, we recognized the fact that people needed to bring their money into the banking system. And therefore, we removed the encumbrance on lodgement, which was why we suspended the charges for lodgement.
Mr. Jimo, thank you, Mr. Jimo. We'll come back to you in the Abuja studio. Let me bring in Mr. Mano here. Mr. Mano, now, as we speak, about 200 million Nigerians in population. Of that number, how many are banked? Do you have an idea?
Well, yes, we have a robust financial inclusion strategy in the bank. We know that we have, for the adult population, I mean, people who are bankable really, over 70%.
Of 200 million?
Oh, so yeah, over 70%.
No, okay, so...
And they're increasing by the day.
I didn't say how many are bankable. I said how many are banked.
It depends on how you define banking.
How many have accounts that are active and they are using?
No, that's different from being financially included. In other words, once you do transactions in any way or manner, using the mobile banking, using any sort of, some kind of lending, some kind of credit, some kind of insurance, you are tagged as financially included. Okay. That's different from having an account in a money deposit bank.
Okay. Now, what the statement made by your colleague is, we want to encourage people to digitize their funds.
Absolutely.
Yesterday evening, someone was talking to my wife and mentioned the situation where her grandmother died, and they found out that she had money in her pillow.
Cash money.
Cash. plenty of it.
In her pillow.
In her pillow. Now, that's one. There are many others. So you say you want to encourage people to bring all this money. You want to encourage the traders not to keep monies on them, but as soon as they finish business, that they go to the bank and keep it.
Yeah.
I asked the question, how many people are banked? How many people own accounts? Not owning 5 accounts, one individual. No. One person of the two, let's just say there are 100 million adult Nigerians.
Yes.
Of that 100 million, are there up to 100 million of them owning accounts?
It's quite possible, but that's
quite
not
possible. But you don't have the exact figure. Okay, but if you're going to encourage people to bring their monies in, why would you be charging them to bring in money that you don't want them to keep?
No, I don't think. I mean, my colleague has tried to explain that.
It's not. I'm not talking about it being old or new. It's based on the statement you said
saying
that you want to encourage people to bring in their money.
No, you know, there are other things around it. It's actually, you know, when you want to make it complete, it becomes different kind of thinking. Now, it's easy to say, let everybody be free to bring in his money forever and ever. But it just doesn't work that way. Because there are certain things as well that's also important. If your money is outside the circulation, it also impacts on other things in the value chain for the financial services. For example, there's some small fees and charges. The bottom line really is that they don't want to make cash cheaper than electronic payments. If you are trying to modernize your payment systems, if you are trying to encourage people to migrate and move towards the digitalization of their cash, it makes sense that doing that should not be more expensive than cash.
But
in other words, the whole idea is to encourage you to digitize your money at the end of the day.
But Chidi, the man out there is of the impression that the CBN is operating for the benefit of the banks. The bank will charge you bank charges every month on your whatever amount you have in the bank. They will charge you for giving you an ATM card. They will charge you for maintaining that ATM card every month. They will charge you for, God knows, they charge you for everything. In other climes, before your ATM card expires, you get a new one free of charge. You don't pay anything. And what are they maintaining in your ATM card that I get charged for every month? So the man you're asking to bring his money to the bank is going to pay to get an ATM card. That ATM card will be maintained, and they will pay every month to have it maintained. Whereas if their money was in their pillow,
they'll get text messages and they'll be charged for text messages.
They'll be charged for text messages.
And now, if you, yes, someone asked that if you even do a POS transaction, you'll be charged for it. You need to clarify. You need to clarify on some of this.
It's a hard sell for the trader out there who has his money in his pillow.
No, let me just say that. Let me just say that I think we must continue with what we've been doing. We're going to make it more impactful this time. We're going to have a lot more sensitizations at the grassroots level.
Yes.
We are going to have stakeholder engagements even more than we have done before. That's because this is just like some kind of confusion. People not understanding what it's all about. Because those charges, for example, in POS transactions, the customers are not charged. The customers are not charged. They're not supposed to be charged. If there's a 5% charge on the merchant, and that's what people are probably talking about. The law 5%. And the policy from CBN is very clear. The 5% is not for the customer, it is for the merchants. Oh yes, that's what it is.
For maintaining the POS
but of course, is the customer who's going to pay it at the end of the day. The trader is going to increase the price of the goods to cover that 5%.
No, but you see, there's cost of cash. No. There's cost of cash handling. Let's not forget that. You forget about the little things like pilfering. You forget about the little things of taking money back and forth to the bank. You forget, there are other costs associated with cash handling. That this payment through the POS, for example, actually eliminates completely. And it's very important. It's just that people don't sit down to put it down in numbers and calculate the cost. Because it does exist, and it's huge.
Okay, maybe the CBN needs to do, as you said, more educational, spend more time. You should come and pay us more money so that we can bring you here more often to talk about
this. It's a hard sell.
Even though it's a hard sell.
You asking the man to bring his money to the bank and pay bank charges and pay ATM.
When you say, there's something that my colleague had said that you gloss over. Actually, when he said that less than 10% of bank customers actually transact over the threshold, it's actually a fact. And he's actually being generous with his numbers. It's actually 5% of the banking population that actually do transactions for individuals over 500,000 in this economy today. So all he's just saying is very straightforward. When these costs of cash handling, storage, printing of cash, distribution, security, and all that. When these costs come, if you look at a typical bank's balance sheet, the cash item, the cash line for the cost of handling that is so huge. Even when you build your branches, what do you see? Large buildings, because they're going to put a vault, they're going to build those metal stuff and all that. An average high street branch in England, for example, is a small room, and banking is going on. But in Nigeria, it's a huge investment in terms of infrastructure, in terms of concrete, in terms of building the vault. All these costs are transferred to every customer. And like my colleague said, the whole idea is let this cost be borne by the people who are actually high cash users.
Okay.
That's really what it is.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Jimo, let me get back to you. We're not going to ask you our questions anymore. Let's ask you the questions of the Nigerians who are watching. So, Egbe Arobayo says, if a customer collects more deposit slips and fills out 450,000 in each to make a 4.5 million naira deposit, will he be charged? But hey, that question was answered earlier, Egbe. It was answered that it's on the excess on your account per bank. Say per account, you said?
Per account, yes.
Per account. So if you have 5 accounts in one bank, you might be charged, right?
One account is per account.
Per account?
Yes. So even if you
not
have...
per individual?
No, not per individual. If you have 3 accounts, there are different accounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's per account.
Yes.
All right. So that depends. Mr. Okonkwo says the banks... yeah, go ahead, Mr. Jimo.
Okay, I just wanted to add more details to what my colleague in Lagos has provided, which is to say that the 500,000 that we're actually talking about is the cumulative for the day. So you do 500 today, tomorrow you can also do 500, but it's cumulative across all channels. I think we need to pass this enlightenment. That, for example, if you go to an ATM to withdraw money and you go to your bank branch to also withdraw money, at the end of the day, the bank will compute and have a total exposure to the withdrawal that you have done for the day, and it is on the excess that is being charged. It is not on the total sum, it's on the excess. And like we said, it is basically to defray the cost of cash handling. Cost of cash handling in this country has actually gone very high, so high that it's becoming unbearable. I need to let you know that the total cash processing chain includes the printing, distribution, and even destruction. And it costs money to do that. You go to bank branches and you see them hire note counters, build cubicles where they count money and all that. And at the end of the day, somebody has to do this and somebody has to be paid. And like I said, the generality of Nigerians will not be affected by this policy. How many Nigerians go to bank every day to withdraw up to 500,000 naira cash?
Okay, but then there are Nigerians who get paid.
It's not about funds transfer.
Okay, Jimo, there are some Nigerians who get paid into their accounts from 500 upward. Does this also affect salaries paid into account?
No, if you pay check into your account, if I understand it very well, if it's an electronic transaction, it doesn't affect you. It's only when cash is involved, either you are withdrawing or lodging it, that the charge comes to play.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Jimo, the House of Representatives weighed in yesterday and said that this policy should be suspended. So what's going to happen?
Well, they are our major stakeholders, and we respect them. But we also have a mandate. As a bank, we also have a mandate that empowers us to modernize the payment system and develop electronic payment in the country. So I imagine that our management will engage them to have a better understanding of the way forward, with due respect.
Okay. Now, Let me come to Mr. Umeano here. Between 2012 and now, how would you assess the success of the policy?
Huge. And I said it with a great sense of responsibility because, and I'm sure you guys can attest to that, what has happened is there's been a massive explosion in the usage of electronic products, from NIP, the straight-through transfers that people do. In fact, the numbers are there. For example, from January 2019 to August, transfers made using the NIP, and I'm sure you guys know what the NIP, the transfer, it's 2 trillion naira, done already. So it's not, people embrace these things. People know, it's the convenience.
But
it's
hold
easy.
on. Okoli
So
said-
we have records to show that.
Let me show you. You said the numbers have increased. We're almost out of time, but let me just read this. Okoli say, fine. He says some people don't trust all these electronic transactions because the system is more prone to failure and fraud. He says CBN should first make the system very secure so that people can have more confidence in it. And then what was the last one he said? I want to be sure. I'll give you an example here. So I went to, my kids wanted to get something, so I went to buy it.
Yeah.
Cost about 5,700. Swiped my card. It told the POS failed, transaction failure.
Yes.
But I was debited. Till today, I was told it will reverse. I lost the slip. But till today, that fund has not been reversed from Zenith. That is Zenith ATM card. It's not been reversed. And so how do you want me to trust that system?
No,
Yet you say the numbers are increasing, but the system is prone to failure. So what is the CBN doing to secure that?
Fraud.
Okay, I'm prone to fraud.
Yeah, I mean, I take it. It does happen sometimes, but that's not the picture.
No.
It's not the normal thing. What happens is we have our resolution mechanism in place, and I'm very sorry about that. I'm actually surprised that you didn't get your. I don't know how you reported it.
I've not reported
Oh,
it because
okay, maybe
I was told I have to come with the slip.
Not necessarily.
I don't have the
no,
slip.
you can actually
So
go.
it happened like
but you
3
can
years
actually
ago.
go there and tell them that this sleep. I mean, you can lose your sleep. But anyway, this can be escalated to CBN. We have a full, well-staffed department, consumer protection department that handles this thing, and they do it. It's what they do every day. And they handle it.
What about the rural areas? We need to go. So make that real quick. There are no ATMs, no POSs in the rural. So what happens to rural banking?
We have agency banking. We have agents. We have mobile banking. We have mobile money. These are designed for.
CBN,
you have USSD.
CBN, you have to come
It
back.
doesn't require internet. USSD just works with code from
CBN, you
from
have, to, you have
telecoms.
to come back. You have to come
No,
back.
we
so
will.
that we'll
No,
break
we
down
will.
these things.
No, we will. We will.
Please
It's
come
part
back.
of the enlightenment sessions.
Please
we
come
will.
back real quick.
Yeah.
Let's make
They certainly had, because they didn't respond to my accusation by the Nigerian people that they're working for the benefit of the banks and allowing the banks to rip us off, because the banks' hands are permanently in our pockets, just drawing out our money as they wish.
Now, let me just say, by the time we come and explain, you'll understand. It's clearly not the fact.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chidi Umeano, Head Shared Services of Central Bank, and he's in Lagos, and the Deputy Director, Payment System Management Department, Mr. Musa Jimo, joined us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you both very much. This discussion continues.